Hi everyone, it's Sunday, May 23rd, time for another HideNet Week in Review. I'm Vera Dordick. So last week on the Hide market, it was another period of stability for some and confusion for others, and in this case, we're talking about the US market. As has been the case for a few weeks now, buyers and sellers are still not seeing eye to eye on prices, which means that little business is being done. The confusion comes mostly because although producers are insisting that prices are steady in the steer sector and that some selections are sold out, demand has been lower. Customers are still very price resistant and slaughter is high, so it's not meshing with what's being portrayed. As we mentioned last week, some selections are indeed steady because of tight supply, and that continues to be the case for Texas. Seasonal weights of 64, 66 pounds or 62, 64 pounds sold as high as $45, so there's no softening of prices there. The price situation on some other selections like butts are a little more muddled, so it's hard to say. The cow market is seeing interest, but prices are still not up to par, so a few selections did slip a little again this past week. To say that export sales were disappointing is definitely an understatement because the total of 294,300 was the second lowest for the year, and that's only after the Chinese New Year week. Combined shipments were down by 17% this week at 470,200, so that is not an improvement either. Turning to slaughter though, for the week through Saturday, May 21st, it was at 669,000, which is 5% higher than the previous week, and it's the largest weekly number for the year to date. Turning to Europe, editor Andrea Guolo says that the situation there is increasingly difficult because of the lack of offerings, and some sellers are pretty much out of stock. Anything more that comes onto the market will be at a higher price, as we said last week. And that's already happening. In fact, in the UK, Andrea reports that asking prices for the 36 plus have risen to £1.40 sterling, but buyers aren't going along with that bullish trend. So only a few sales were made, and that was at £1.35 per kilo. Slaughter is a bit better, but far from enough. And in Ireland right now, the biggest concern is related to the quality of the summer harvest, so no price hikes are likely there. With regard to bulls, Andrea says the situation could not be any more tense. There were no offers from northern Germany last week, and those from the south had higher prices, so the Italian tanneries opted not to buy at all last week. And this means that southern German bulls are still at last week's €1.85 per kilo. The European cow market saw little business during the week with no contracts for northern Germany and very few for France. In the veal skin market, though, things are really busy because the fashion houses are gearing up for demand to take off, and they're doing a lot of buying. Of course, the expected spike in demand does not include business leather goods or men's footwear. In his analysis this week, Andrea discusses the increased asking prices, the tanner response of shopping purchases, and what that's going to do there. He also talks about the challenge of meeting the demand for the Asian market and what could happen when the Western world is totally back in business on top of that. Now, turning to South America, editor Ronald Guiel reports that once again, Brazilian raw material managed to hold on to steady levels, selling at $3.37 per kilo. Sellers are still holding TR1 prices steady also at $1.15 per square foot, but he notes that this short run of stability may be coming to an end because more price increases are expected. In other news from Brazil, the country's Das footwear group is going to double its production in Argentina. And elsewhere in Latin America, in Argentina, aside from the export ban, leather goods, footwear, and other related exports were up significantly in April. The Topper company is investing $5 million to launch apparel and expand its footwear production. And Colombia's consumer market is oddly mirroring the pandemic's beginnings, with people buying a lot of comfort purchases and stocking up on food. Finally, ANPIC is coming up this week in Mexico, so we'll see what that means for the footwear market there. So that's all we have for this week. And until next week, good night from HideNet.